Powerful men ever command the respect of those that envy and covet power, and so Baelsar's dependents hung off him like leeches. He had collected from conquered lands men and women that have claimed to be ready to die for him, but their conviction has remained untested until now. Ritatan Sas Arvina was one that had been so indoctrinated, selling his own freedom and that of his kinsfolk and children for a power he would never have found otherwise, a power that he thought was conducive, even essential, to peace and security. Yet the man was no fool. We intercepted him at Cape Westwind as our intelligence had anticipated, but as soon as he knew my face, he guessed our plans for that night and was determined to stand his ground. Striking him down was a proof of concept, that there is a greater strength still in liberty, and that as free men and women we could prevail. There was nobility in the Praefectus's ignorance, nobility that he carried to the bitter end. Arvina died well, but the advantage was ours. The 14th strategic capabilities were seriously damaged, and Castrum Marinum cut off from the mainland, ready for the Admiral's blockade that would immediately press it and Castrum Occidens, whilst the twin adders lay siege to Oriens. Baelsar would consider our hand played, but I had no intention to give him the time to move his weapon onto the field before I flew north like a summer storm against the walls of Castrum Meridianum, a fortress city shrouded in perpetual cerulean twilight on a plateau as green and inviting as the shores of the void. The wind that carried me touched the fading sparks of the Flames garrison that stood uneasily in the shadows of this towering citadel of steel. I had seen that even the courage of the Alliance leaders could waver before the Garlean monster without a little stoking, and a simple gesture of solidarity was all that was needed to set them ablaze once more. So the unassuming warrior and fellow officer of the Flames that had smashed Baelsar's greatest tactician not hours ago broke bread with the privates of Camp Bluefog with a light heart and a few simple words packed with kindling. Basilisk meat is more leather than flesh, and my cooking was probably poorer than Sergeant Fist might have hoped, but he was right about the effect of the gesture. The hungry inferno leapt up again in every soldier's face. Soon they could hardly wait to lick at the walls of Meridianum and boil the Garleans inside. Lieutenant Edelstein and General Aldin awaited me at the occupied cerulean processing plant, and Raubon noticed how my mere presence here too lifted the burdens of fear and doubt from the soldiers making ready to march in a way that even he was not capable. It was to these men and women as if I carried an unquenchable torch, an instrument not of resolve but of destiny. So Raubon and I rode out, clearing a path to the Castrum gates that the main host might follow unimpeded. The Scions followed, bearing news that Occidens, Marinum, Sentry and Oriens were all now successfully under blockade. The strength of their momentum was ours, with the heart of the Black Wolf now effectively isolated. The united force of the Alliance threw themselves against the walls until the 14th was forced to answer, and in the commotion, my band of hardened condottiers and I slipped inside. With all eyes on the siege at the Castrum walls, our small task force quickly succeeded in disabling the outermost checkpoints unnoticed and breaching the fortress proper, beholding for the first time the glowing shield generated about the monolithic Praetorium. We disabled a patrolling Reaper, and Sid, having abandoned his comms post in envy for the front lines, decided to put it to use against the shield generators that barred our way into the Praetorium. After sending the cerulean plant which powered the first of these burning into the sky, the night exploded with sirens and searchlights. The Alliance forces had bought us some time, but we could all feel the eyes of the wolf immediately turning inwards, and they were no doubt moving to pincer us within moments. So with Sid melting the walls before us as we barreled onwards, dodging and smashing reinforcements pouring from the malms of barracks and dropping from airships overhead. We turned the Castrum's artillery against their own colossi and gunships to clear a path to the remaining generators, and as they came crashing down, I regretted for a moment that Ida and Y'shtola were not beside me for what stood before us next. The raving, rabid murderer, Livius Sas Junius, had found either the courage or the madness to bar my way. Unlike Arvina, there was no nobility in this creature, only cruelty, savagery, and rage. She had butchered my brothers and sisters in cold blood at the Waking Sands, and I felt now all of their fury and their pain surging up my spine with every blow. There was justice for them here, but no peace. Junius fought and died like an animal. General Aldin and the Alliance cohort flooded in to secure the castrum behind us from the now scattered Imperial Armada. Anxious to not keep our ultimate quarry waiting, we collected the Enterprise, and under a blanket of fire we leapt into the upper floors of the Praetorium. We had already achieved the impossible, but I knew that the machine waiting for us in the bowels of that place was far beyond the power and control of the Empire, and the Ascian attending it an evil beyond time and comprehension. If it could not be stopped, our small victories tonight would have been for naught and the Alliance states incinerated before the dawn. Despite these stakes, all that was on my mind as we pushed in was how I might save my friend and comrade from a living hell, and what the crystal had told me, to forge a blade of light. I could only hope that I might understand in time. Baelsar had evidently anticipated an assault on his Ultima weapon. The Praetorium seemed to operate largely as a factory for his war machine, and around every corner we were beset by vanguards of advanced Magitech weaponry and Imperial officers. Before the defenders could regroup, we breached the central command center wherein the Legatus had hoped to lure us. He taunted Cid by confiding his late father's regrets, trying one last time to break and turn the engineer. He even offered me the same, speaking of a future of order and peace. But peace is a hollow and joyless thing without expressive freedom and plurality. I believe that the Legatus has ever been sincere in his plight, but there is no peace to be won by consorting with the Ascians. We were interrupted by a massive Magitech colossus, intended to ambush us there, and Baelsar retreated deeper into his lair, no doubt to prepare the Ultima weapon. We wasted no time in pursuit. A larger force would have been strangled in mobility, but we used the maze of halls and walkways to our advantage and fought ever downwards. Cid led us to a Reaper hangar, and amongst the Magitech armors we happened to spy a familiar insignia, a certain conscious machine that seemed rather pleased for our reunion. With the cavalry on our side, we made short work of the blast doors blocking the Magitech research facility and warehouse below, though it overloaded the Reaper's core to do so, and we were met by the last surviving tribunus, the aspiring engineer Nero Tolskava, berating Cid for ever overshadowing him. This pitiful man was driven not by loyalty, nobility, or even a twisted sense of utility and justice. He was overfull with only pride and envy, and to face this most shallow of torrents might have been comical in another place. He was spent within moments, and fled like the spineless lindworm he is. Cid registered a surge of power from the deepest pits of the facility, and was certain that we would lose contact as we forged onto a lift shaft that descended malms out of sight.
Tell me, for whom do you fight? How very glib. Eorzea's unity is forged of falsehoods. Its city-states are built on deceit, and its faith is an instrument of deception. It is not but a cobweb of lies. To believe in Eorzea is to believe in nothing.
Baelsar thought to test me in strength, resolve, and clarity, but in so doing he revealed much of his own character. In truth, I could never deny that he possesses the same overwhelming spirit and impulse of justice and righteousness that drives the Scions and the Alliance leaders, and his resolve is, if anything, firmer. The fragile lie which he believes to govern the lives of every Eorzean. I am not convinced that he is wrong about the true nature of the 12, that they are the same spectres of icons which we both despise. I understand why so many have followed and respected him. He has ever been driven by truth, not malice. There's little violence or evil in what he has done to make Eorzea suffer that he has not believed necessary and regretted to be so. In another place and time he could have been a great man, and in seeing this, I think I am beginning to understand the true nature of evil in men. It is hubris, and not cruelty, that spurns the greatest threats. Not self-interest but conviction. And all men and women too certain of their right and their justice are vulnerable to this deepest dark. However, this was not a lesson upon which I had time to meditate before Baelsar was upon us, and the ringing clash of steel carried us all the way down.
I had not thought to be so hard-pressed. Your strength is most impressive. Such power befits a ruler, yet you lack the resolve to put it to proper use. A waste.
The Ultima weapon, imbued with the power of Efreet, Titan, and Garuda. Our weapons bounced harmlessly off its carapace as though they were made of twigs. This monster had been designed to withstand a greater brute force than we could muster here. I saw a moment of despair in the faces of my allies before the air started to hum with the voice of the crystal, and I realized as I had at the Howling Eye, but now with perfect clarity, that my awakening and my attunement with the light was an instrument that transcended the weight of an axe. I knew the tides of the life stream, and I felt Hydaelyn willing them to flow through me. And as I surrendered myself to it, I struck again at the weapon, not with the power of my body, but with the power of the blood of the land coursing through my feet from the ancient and scarred arteries of Thanalan. I clawed from the weapon the essences of its captive primals until it seemed spent. A moment for which the Ascian had been waiting to play his hand. The heart of Sabik, the dispenser of Ultima. Too late, Baelsar recognized that he had been led down a path not of conquest, but annihilation. The Praetorium and the plateau disintegrated in an instant, and we were spared only by the last mote of Hydaelyn's strength. Even now, Baelsar thought his hands tied and launched the weapon at us again, but its own shield was as broken as ours. Though he rained fire and pulled gunships to crash against us, though the Ascian had it prepared and within moments of casting a second Ultima, we stood firm until at last the weapon failed and cast Baelsar aside.
Heed me. The subjects of a weak ruler must needs look to a higher power for providence, and their dependence comes at a cost to the realm. The misguided elevate the frail, and the frail lead the people astray. Unless a man of power wrests control, the cycle will never be broken. You of all people must see the truth in this. You who have the strength to rule.
Pathetic. You boasted of unrivaled power. You were entrusted with the ultimate weapon, the ultimate magic. And still, you failed. So much for the glory of man. The growing imbalance afflicting the planet must be redressed. If it is permitted to worsen, the very laws of existence, both etheric and physical, will be warped beyond all recognition. Know you the root of this corruption? Hydaelyn, like a parasite, she must be burned out if the planet is to recover. And naught but the return of the one true god will ensure her complete excision. You will not leave this place alive. It is past time your flame was extinguished, bringer of light.
I remembered the crystal's instruction. Make thee a blade of light. Lahabrea and I drifted together into the noumenal realm, the crystals burning within me, and I realized I have been here before. When I first stepped upon this path, on the carriage to Ul'dah, this was the moment of my vision. My first experience with the echo, it had not been an echo of the past, but of the future, of now. The circle had already been completed long before, and all that was left for me was to hear, feel, think. Today the darkness could not take me. It could not take Eorzea, and it would not take my friend. I split the Ascian from his host and sent him panicking back to the void.
It binds them. They are too many.
Even with my vision thus fulfilled, I knew that this victory was a prologue for me, not an ending. We would not die in that place.
And so my conquest ends, Cid. In smoke and ashes.
You almost got us killed that one time, remember?
Now, we both know that was your fault.
Thank the 12 we're safe.
Mind your horns there, manbull.
Mayhap when you mind your manners.
Though the crystal that bound Thancred is no more, I doubt we can say the same of Lahabrea. And even if we could, we know that he is not alone. Confounded Ascians. Their god may be unknown to us, but their zeal is unquestionable. Suffice it to say, it would be folly to assume that they no longer pose a threat. Nevertheless, for now, we must savor what peace we have won, however ephemeral. Do you see, Grandfather? Our first step towards realizing the dream for which you gave your life.
Friends, the dread night of Imperial tyranny and Ascian machination is ended. A new day now begins in Eorzea.
True to their name, the Scions of the 7th Dawn, along with our champion, have delivered us from darkness.
Let their shared victory serve to remind us of our shared history. And let their bravery in the face of adversity inspire future generations.
Doubt not, the realm will need bravery in the days to come. Old rifts threaten to divide us within our walls, while hordes of beastmen claw at our gates. And though the Black Wolf be slain, the rest of the pack remains. Yet no foe need we fear, so long as we stand as one.
So long as the Scions stand for peace.
So long as our champion stands fast. For there exists no adversity over which we may not jointly prevail. Change will not come overnight. Yet I foresee a day, not so very far from now, when the lines that divide our lands fade, and all of Eorzea is one.
It has been but 5 short years since the Battle of Cartano. 5 years since the advent of the 7th Umbral Era. No victory, however sweet, can wash away our bitter sorrows. No triumph can reclaim those we lost. Yet do not presume you honor them by dwelling on the past. It was not the past they fought for. You would repay their sacrifice by looking to the future.
A future united, as the warriors of light united in the champion.
Now is the time for us to rise as one, bearing all of Eorzea on our shoulders.
5 years ago, Eorzea bore witness to the end of the 6th Astral Era. Now, the 7th Umbral Era draws to a close, yet we come together not to glory in its end, but to mark a new beginning.
Let it be writ that on this day, by the light of the crystal,
Eorzean ushered in a new era. The seventh astral era is come. And thus is ours a realm reborn.
One true god, the excision of Heidel, a return to balance. It seems that the Ascian concept of balance is nothing short of complete and static nihilism. I've seen a terrible vision. Gears are turning across the realm, and I know that my work is far from done. Gaius was right. We are plagued by fear and ignorance, and the power to defend the realm is meaningless without the resolve to do so.
It can't be. Did you hear that? There's no time to spare.
Where is it coming from?
Darkness never sleeps, and so nor will the warrior of light.